Hello, and welcome to the And Then Right podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Walsh, and this is episode 6, Manifest That Shit. Thank you for joining me again. Before I launch into today's episode, I wanted to let you know I will be unveiling details for the very first And Then Right Writers Retreat in a few weeks. My guest from episode 2, Irene Yadao, and I are co-planning this event and hope you'll join us. To be notified of retreat details, please visit andthenright.com and sign up for my newsletter. You'll have the first opportunity to register for the retreat. Okay. Back to business. Today I'll be discussing the concept of manifesting and how it can impact your writing life, and quite honestly, your entire life. So, I used to think of manifesting as some kind of woo-woo, well, BS. It felt new agey and weird, and how do you really just think yourself to success or happiness or health anyways? But let's back things up a bit. What is manifesting? The traditional meaning of the word is to display or show a quality or feeling by one's acts or appearance, to demonstrate. For example, she manifested signs of absolute joy. Of the various definitions I've seen of manifesting, the one I like most comes from a Huffington Post article written by Natalie Guerin back in 2015. Manifesting is the art of co-creating with the universe. And again, on the surface, this still felt like somewhat uncomfortable terrain for me. I'm co-creating with the universe? How? Well, for starters, by asking for what you want. Several years ago, I worked for an acupuncturist. We were talking about personal goals, and she very seriously said to me, "You need to say them out loud. The universe can't give you what you haven't asked for." She was adamant about putting our wishes, desires, even day-to-day goals out there. And there are lots of ways to do this. You can write out a detailed list of what you want and be specific. I want to write a book is okay, but I want to write a children's book that deals with how kids can cope with anxiety is much clearer. Or you can spend a few minutes during your meditation practice focusing on what you're asking the universe for. If you're crafty, bust out those art supplies and make some vision boards, creative goals, travel goals, bucket list goals, whatever. And another habit I've developed, thanks to Sean Croxton, more about him in a minute, is visualization. Spend at least 5 minutes a day visualizing exactly what your ideal life looks like in the greatest detail you can imagine. I know this one can be very challenging. Since I'm a visual person, it's worked well for me, and maybe it resonates with you too. I became familiar with Sean Croxton while working for the acupuncturist. He was initially a fixture in the health and wellness sphere, but over the last few years, he's transitioned into personal development and become obsessed with, in his words, what makes people do what they do and not do the things they really want to do. I took his Beta Money Mind Academy course a while back, not really sure what to expect. Sean has an engaging personality and is a deep well of knowledge. And as a person who's been self-employed for a few years, I decided it was time to increase my financial knowledge. What I wasn't expecting was such a deep excavation of long-held beliefs around money and self-worth, all formed in the early years of childhood. These beliefs color the lens through which we see ourselves, and depending on the kinds of messages we received as children, well, some of us learned some less than helpful habits. Our self-talk is often filled with negative affirmations about ourselves, people we come into contact with, and the world around us. How can we manifest everything we crave in life when we've been fed such poor habits? Habits that have become fully entrenched in our psyches. Eventually, This is how manifesting was presented to me in a way that made sense. You are what you think. So let's consider this from the perspective of writing. If you wake up each day and think, I wish I was a writer. I probably should write. But no one is going to read my writing anyways, so what's the point? Everything's already been said. My work isn't even that good. Blah, blah, blah. How far would you expect to get into your writing career? Do you think you'd become a successful writer with daily, incessant chatter like this, ping-ponging around your brain? No. I'm not saying you'll become a best-selling author if you talk to yourself in a more positive way, but how does this sound? I am a writer. I can't wait to write. There are so many projects I'm excited to work on, and I look forward to sharing this work with others. There's a sort of opening that needs to happen for the shifts to get in. I've noticed that when I get clear on my goals, get specific in what it is I'm asking for, what I'm seeking, that those things have a way of finding me. At first, I remember feeling a bit silly about asking for things out loud. But the truth is, if we can't even speak what it is we want out loud, how is it ever going to find us? I read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert a while back and found myself nodding along in agreement to most of it. It's a wonderfully inspiring book, one of those you'll want to dip into when you need a little nudge of encouragement. There are so many quotable moments from the book, but I found this passage to be most relevant to today's topic. I believe that our planet is inhabited not only by animals and plants and bacteria and viruses, but also by ideas. Ideas are a disembodied, energetic life form. They are completely separate from us, but capable of interacting with us, albeit strangely. Ideas have no material body, but they do have consciousness, and they most certainly have will. Ideas are driven by a single impulse, to be made manifest. And the only way an idea can be made manifest in our world is through collaboration with a human partner. It is only through a human's efforts that an idea can be escorted out of the ether and into the realm of the actual. I love that. What are you trying to manifest into the realm of the actual? And so now I'm wondering, as you've sat listening to this episode, what's come up for you? Are you sitting there, shaking your head, wondering if you will ever possibly listen to another one of my podcast episodes? Do you think I've gone off the rails, crossed a line into something a little too out there? Well, if so, I will say this. Welcome to resistance, my friend. We're so fearful, doubtful, frustrated, resentful, anxious. These are all forms of resistance. Some say it's a fear of failure, but I tend to believe it's fear of success. It's easier to live in that unknown patch, the safe place, as I like to call it. We know what happens there, whether we like it or not. If you have felt all the signs of resistance flying up as you've listened to this, I'd like to invite you to take one small step, one new action towards offering what you desire to the universe. Maybe you can't say it out loud yet, and that's okay. Just think it, see it. Do that every day for a while, and then keep going. So now it is your turn. I would love to hear your thoughts about manifesting. Is this something you've done before? If not, how are you going to start? How do you think this can impact your writing life? If you're comfortable sharing your thoughts with a group, head on over to the Facebook group, And Then Write Podcast, and request an ad. This is where we'll be discussing these and other topics. If you'd rather message me directly, feel free to email me at andthenwrite@gmail.com. To listen to previous podcast episodes, find the resources mentioned in this episode, or to sign up for my newsletter, please visit andthenwrite.com. Thank you for listening today. I hope you'll join me again in a few weeks for episode 7.